A Hobie Getaway. What's left of it. This is the ravages of UV rays on a catamaran that's left out in storage, open air storage, and they don't fare too well, especially on the trampolines. Ford trampoline, well, they're both totally gone. This one has some remnants of it laying around. Also, let's see, this right pontoon has been replaced already by the company. The left one has a couple of splits. That's a bad place to have a split. Got a split there and a split there. I contacted Hobie and they were borderline useless on assistance on how to repair this stuff. So did some googling, and I'm going to use a product called G-Flex and see if I can't at least first repair the hull. If I can't repair the hull, then this thing's worthless and I'll just sell it for whatever I can get out of it. But I was given this Hobie Getaway. Just had to go pick it up and haul it off. What's strange is I know the history of this Hobie Getaway. I had a co-worker from many years ago, and I took him out sailing on my NACRA 5.2 racing catamaran sailboat. And I was going to try to sell it to him, but he loved the sailing so much that he drove up to Kansas and he bought a brand new Hobie Getaway sailboat. And this is it. I tried to buy it from him years ago, but he wasn't quite ready to sell it. But he run into the problem that a lot of us run into. We love sailing, but our family isn't into sailing. Our friends aren't into sailing. They want something you can throw into the water, fire up the engine, and take off. And you can't really do that on these. It takes a little bit of preparation on setting these things up. So it's set out in his dry storage yard for years and years. I guess one day he decided he wasn't obviously going to be selling it, and he didn't want to mess with the restoration project on this thing. So he called me up, and now I've got it. Good or bad, I've got it. So anyways, this is the start of the restoration. I touched on one of the holes with some acetone, just in a little spot, and it cleaned up really well. So I think the holes will clean up good. It's just a matter of whether or not I can make this hull waterproof. If I can correct that, it's all going to be okay. I can order the trampolines. I can order the material that sits on the seats, that lashes to the seats there. The good thing is the sails. The sails and all the cable rigging were stored in his house in an air-conditioned room, and they are in pristine shape. So it's just a matter if I can get this part of the boat fixed up. This thing should rock. So anyways, we'll see where I get on it. After my friend purchased this Hobie Getaway, he took it out on the lake and went sailing. And he had trouble getting it up on one hull. He had trouble flying a hull. So he called me up, and he just told me how he was having a lot of trouble. It was a lot harder to get up on one hull than the NACRA 5.2. So I told him we'll get out there on a day that we got some wind, and if we have some wind, I could get this thing up on one hull. And so I actually sailed this thing very shortly after he got it off the showroom floor. So I've actually sailed this boat when it was brand new. Sailed it one time with him. We got out on the lake, the winds picked up, and we flew a hull. And then we promptly torpedoed one of the pontoons, pitch-poled, and slung us out across the water. And the thing went cartwheeling past our heads. Nearly killed us. If it had hit us, it probably would have killed us. But These things are bow heavy. They want to dig, so you have to really slide to the back and bring your buddy back with you, because they don't like to necessarily fly a hull. She's a beast. She's a heavy sucker, and she doesn't want to raise up off of the water. But you can get them to do it. This thing is more of a recreation family catamaran sailboat. And but like I said, you can't get it up on one hull. You just have to work with it a little bit. Okay, with the help of brush, all-purpose cleaner, and acetone, I was able to clean up and prep this area really well. Looks like a new hull, with the exception of the splits. And I got all the hardware off of this end. And now I'm going to go get the G-Flex and do some reading on it and see what it takes to mix that stuff up. There we go. Conditions of the hull, it looks bad. It's really dirty, grungy. Decals are all faded out, peeled off in some places. Got some kind of growth on the hatches here. So it looks bad. But then I went to the other side, to the other hull, and I'll show you what it looks like after I did some serious scrubbing. This is the other side. Now I still have to work on the decals, but as far as the hull goes, it is white. Cleaned up very nice. I also went ahead and trimmed the trampolines off, but I left all the mounting gear where it all mounts to the boat. That way when I get the new trampoline in, I'll have a reference, and I won't be sitting there scratching my head trying to figure out how the heck this all goes back together. Anyways, as far as the decals go, there was a decal here that said Hobie Cat. It's taking, and there was a long decal over here. And it's taking basically a razor blade and trying to get the decal up, and then what you wind up with is the glue, the adhesive. And that's taking acetone to strip that off, and that is some work, because that acetone, since it's a chemical, it has to react with this adhesive, and so you have to give it just a little bit of time so it can loosen this stuff up. And it's some serious elbow grease. But I'll move all down through here, and when I'm done, this will be a totally white hull with no decals. Wow. Smooth and clean. Looks really good. And that's the benefit of a rotomolded plastic right there. Comes off looking just virtually new. This is painfully tedious. I've tried the heat gun on this glue. I've tried chemicals such as acetone. Nothing seems to work. The decals have been damaged by UV rays, so you put very much pressure on them and they break right off. All right, there it is. Starboard side hull is completely clear and clean of decals. All the adhesive is off, and just a nice pretty white hull now. Okay, I have a much nicer looking catamaran in here now in the barn. Clean looking holes, everything's shiny. Now, back to this. I've taped off the other repair job, and just for the heck of it, I have a hatch over there that was kind of getting oxidized, so I've taped it also. And now, fixing to do a little painting on it and see how it looks. Alright, it is definitely a little whiter than the hull. Not by a whole lot, but there's definitely a shade or two. Little repair job has a fresh coat of paint on it. From a distance, nobody will even notice it. Of course, there's going to be a rudder mounted back here also, so it's going to cover up a lot of this.